Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Life of an Average Joe podcast. And guess what? We are kicking it old school today. Yep, that's correct. No green screen, no fancy graphics, no technology. Well, a little technology. But you know what? We're taking it back. No studio, no off-site recording area, nothing. Just me, the camera, my headphones, and that's it. So I wanted to take it back to kind of when I got started with this, with my first podcast, which believe it or not, was not the Life of an Average Joe, but when it was just me and just talking and just sitting here in my cave, my dwelling, my home, and just really just kind of talking about life. So that's where the idea of the Life of an Average Joe came from, actually, was just doing life stuff, was doing my life. You know, I'm 42 years old. I've experienced a lot of things like a lot of people have. Moved around, worked at a lot of different interesting places, have had some amazing stories that I felt needed to be told. And it started off as book ideas. Matter of fact, I'm finishing a book right now called The Life of an Average Joe, My Life Behind Bars. Not prison, guys, okay? This isn't like Brandon Goes to Oz, okay? This isn't like me and, the gangs that I was involved in, which I wasn't. I'm talking about life behind bars, pouring drinks. I've been in the service industry for over 20 years, 20 plus, and God, it's getting really scary because it might be almost 24 years. Anyway, and I've experienced a lot of things, so that's where the book came from. And then I started to think about a podcast and think about doing other ideas. And here I am. And right now I've set the timer because typically my podcasts are not 15 minutes. But I'm gonna do a short podcast today, just talking about a little story. Forgive this, man. Let's get distracted here. Let's go for a squirrel moment, okay? I went for a run. Yeah, okay. Had my son with me. I always, he's always with me, but he's going to his mom's house now, and for the day or for a couple days, I went for a run. Why I chose to go for a run at 12 o'clock in Texas, I don't know, but I took a quick shower, and this is what you get. Again, the Life of an Average Joe. So if I'm sweaty, if I don't have a hair and makeup girl or guy, if I'm not wearing my fancy wardrobe, I don't really care. This is what you get. But because I was running in Texas and because I just got back from Michigan, I had some stories in my head, and I wanted to take a minute and tell you one of these stories that I don't know why it stuck with me. I went to Michigan. We just got back, actually. We were there for 14 days or so, and we just got back, so I'm adjusting. I mean, it's a difference of an hour. They're an hour behind us, but I'm just adjusting back to reality, No more vacation life, no more, lounging around, going to the beach. It's time to get back to work. So, but I was thinking about that because it was the 4th of July weekend, and in Michigan, everybody goes up north. I mean, everybody. First off, you can't sneeze without jumping into a lake. I mean, there's so many lakes in Michigan besides the Great Lakes. And I was thinking about everybody going up north, and I wish I would have had the opportunity to go there on this trip. Unfortunately, I didn't, and it's just the way it is. But we did get to go to the lake, so that's cool. And I was thinking about ice fishing. I know it's 95 degrees in Texas, and I'm thinking about ice fishing, but I don't know. What are you gonna do? I don't get cold. Okay, I don't get cold. If I get cold, it's cold. Or I'm sick. And even though Texas had about like a week of winter, they don't get cold down here. Despite what you may heard, they don't get cold. They're going to freak out when it's 50 degrees outside and put on their Snuggies and eat their Whataburger, but they're not going to get cold. And I've been down in Texas for 11 years now. I've not adapted. I still can't stand the heat. I don't want to say I can't stand it, but I prefer the cold. Anyway, I digress. So in Michigan, it obviously gets cold. And one of the coolest things, no pun intended, that you can do is go ice fishing or go up north. I love to go up north in the winter. I really like to go up north all the time. There's something about it. And there's so many areas that you can go to. And it really depends on how far you can go to or how far you want to go. I mean, I remember, if I can take a sidestep in my story here, I remember when my buddy was in college and he was a year behind us, maybe 2 years behind us, I don't remember. And he was going to Northern Michigan University. So just to kind of put this in perspective for you, here's Michigan, okay? Northern Michigan is across the Mackinac Island Bridge, not that, the Mackinac Island Bridge in the UP. So Michigan's literally divided, the Upper Peninsula. It's a bridge that connects it. There you go. He's up here. I lived here, about right here. If you don't understand what I'm doing, look on a map. It was about 8 hours north. Okay, so Texas is big, but still driving 8 hours and staying maybe 7, staying in the same state is nuts. And what made it worse was you had to cross the Mackinac Island Bridge. I'm not a big bridge guy. I'm not scared of them as like I used to be, but I'm not a fan of them. I think I love the way they look. I love old bridges. I just don't want to go on one. That's just the way it is. But Mackinac Island Bridge is scary because you're way up there. It moves very, it sways. Not a lot, but it sways. It's got grates, open grates underneath. So when your car's driving, it's going vroom, 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 vroom. And you know that you're going over these grates that you could see down in the bottom. And I forget how many miles it is. And then you get to the UP. But what sucks about it is cars have literally been blown off that bridge into into the lake. Might as well be an ocean because it's one of the Great Lakes. I'm not kidding. Look it up. Google it. Cars have blown off the bridge. So it gets so bad they'll have wind advisories on there, wind warnings. Sometimes they have to close the bridge. Dude, if you close the bridge and you're on the other side trying to get back, you're screwed. But the other thing too is the wind advisories. So you can get up there, pull up, they got a little like speed limit thing. It'll say like 30 miles an hour because of the wind. Because they don't want you to speed and they don't want you to go the speed limit because the wind could get you to go airborne. Your car could literally fly off the bridge. So driving slow is supposed to help. Or they have a police escort to make sure that you're going slow. Like the cop is going to be able to save me if I'm going off the bridge. Hey, excuse me, officer, I feel like my car is kind of rising. Could you? No, that's okay. I'll just go die. It's fine. I'm dead. No big deal. But I don't like going up there. But we used to go to a lot of places up north with our friends, our girlfriends, boyfriends, just everybody. And we went on a guy's trip to Manistee, and we were on Lake Manistee. My buddy had a cabin out there. It's a pretty nice cabin, nothing spectacular. But, it had some amenities to it, so we didn't have to, cook everything by the fire. And we went in the wintertime, and this was an impromptu trip. We knew we were going to go up north, but we had no real intentions of doing much other than bonfires and drinking, maybe walking to the local bar, just really hanging out. Well, one night we were drinking a lot. I mean, a lot. And it probably wasn't good stuff either. Maybe Labatt, because that's what you drink in Michigan. But it probably wasn't great. Maybe some maybe Leinenkugel. I don't know, Yingling for sure. But cheap stuff. I didn't have the palate that I do now. I'm not as refined back then as I was now, or as I am now, I should say. But we were drinking a lot, and I got the idea, and I know it was my idea, so I should take credit or fault for this, because it was my idea, to go ice fishing on the lake. Not a problem. The lake's right there. It's definitely cold and frozen. We're not going to fall through. There's always a potential on the dangerous ice. That's why if you see ice frozen in Texas and I see people walking on it, you're an idiot. I promise you. But I digress again. So we went on there. Now, we didn't have a shack. There were shacks out there, but we didn't have the shack set up because it's literally, you can set up a shack. You can go sit on benches. It depends how fancy your shack is. And you cut a hole in the ice. If you've never been ice fishing before, Google it. If you're not familiar with it, watch the video on YouTube. But you can cut a hole in the ice deep because those fish are down in there. They're not just packing their bags and going to Mexico for the winter. They are living down there below the ice, okay? And they're hungry. Not a lot of food down there this time of year. Everything's hibernating, dead, or whatever. You throw your pole in, you go back in the shack, turn on the radio, drink some beers, drink some whiskey, eat. They have little heaters. The heaters do not melt the ice. And you hang out and shoot the breeze. Smoke some cigars if you want, whatever. You can also sleep out there. As crazy as that sounds. You can sleep on the ice. We thought that we'd just take a tent out there. Now, I need to pause right there and say that you can take a tent on the ice. There are special tents that you have to go on the ice that you can set up. They're built for that. This was not built for that. This was built for just like popping up outside and sitting in the grass and maybe sleeping in it. This was not one of those tents. So me, Matt, and my buddy Toby, and there might have been one other guy, I don't remember. Or I think 3 of us went and 1 stayed back. It could have been Brian, I'm not sure. Went out on the ice. We had all the equipment, poles and everything. We're used to the weather. Bring some beers, we're chilling, cutting it. We start to feel the wind pick up. Again, it's Michigan, you're on a frozen lake, you're up north in the middle of wintertime. So wind picking up at night, not a big deal. Snow coming, not a big deal. We didn't bother to check the weather, which is rule number 1. You should always check the weather for multiple reasons. We didn't do that because we're not smart. And we went out on the ice in our tent. The tent's moving. We feel, no big deal. My buddy's like, hey, you know what? Maybe we should just call it. And I'm like, dude, we're not leaving until we catch something. We know there's fish under here. I want to at least catch something. I'm probably just going to throw it back. Maybe we'll eat it. I'm not a big fish guy, or I just want to take a picture and go inside and finish our night. Well, then the wind's really picking up, and we can see like our tent's doing one of these on the inside. So we go back out and start pulling our poles in, pulling our lines in. We can't even find the hole. It's covered. We can't find it. We go back in the tent and we're like, dude, I think we just lost some fishing poles, and I have no idea. Maybe we should call it. We finished our beer, and the radio that we had kept on getting knocked over, like getting pushed. And my buddy's like, dude, why are you moving all this stuff? And I'm like, I'm not moving it. It's the wind. And he's like, no, you're literally moving it. Like it was standing up, and now it's over here. And I'm like, wait a minute, dude. Like, do you feel that? And we could feel like the wind under us. Not a good sign. So we get out and we look. Our tent is sideways, and we are nowhere near where our spot was. The snow's coming down, and the snow is getting blown from the shore in, so we can't tell if it's snowing or if it's a drift. The wind literally moved our tent with our fat butts in it down the lake. We're like 25, 30 feet tops away from our spot in the middle of a lake, in the middle of wintertime, in a storm, at least a windstorm. Because again, I couldn't tell if the snow was coming out. So we pack up our stuff. As we're packing up our stuff and wrapping the tent off, we're seeing things go flying. Gone. Dude, pole, gone. Gone. I'm like, dude, forget it. I don't even care. So sorry if we littered, or sorry if somebody woke up the next day with that crap in their yard, but we were out of there. So instead of walking across the lake, because again, we don't know what position we're in, we kind of see the land. So we walked over to the land. We get into the snowbanks, we see some lights, and we just start walking towards the lights with whatever equipment we have. The wind is beating down on our face so much that when we got outside, and I have to tell you, it was probably 20, 25 minutes, maybe more, of just walking in snow drifts. I felt like I was in the Antarctic. I felt like I was that movie with Liam Neeson where he's getting hunted by the wolves. I can't see. I'm losing people behind me. No man left behind. And we walked over, and we got into the cabin, and ice is melting off our face and our beard. My nose was frozen to the point that I felt like I could just take it off, put it by the fire, and put it back when I was done. So there you go. There's my ice fishing story, guys. But if you want to hear more stories of the life of an average Joe, like Super Bowl parties with Tommy Lee, the time I met The Rock, maybe DJing in Miami and getting left in the purple section. Yep, that's real. Check out the Life of an Average Joe podcast anywhere where you listen to your favorite podcast, including Anchor, Spotify, Apple Podcast, and more. And thank you to the NPA for everything they do for us podcasters out there. And I promise I only get better. I might get worse too, but I only get better. So thanks again for listening. We'll see you soon.